ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् Verse 50 परोक्षज्ञानकालेऽपि विषयः स्वप्रकाशता समाब्रह्मस्वप्रकाशम् अस्तित्येवं विबोधनात्. So up to verse 47, Vidyaranya elaborately dealt with 7 stages of Jiva. Jiva Yatra, a journey of a Jiva, till he reaches Brahman. So that 7 stages have been described very beautifully. First thing is, Jiva is having ignorance of his own nature. So he doesn't know that he is Brahman. And he has an ignorance of Brahman, that also he doesn't know. That's what I want to convey. I am ignorant of, I am Brahman, I don't know. That's fine. But I don't know that I don't know Brahman, my own nature. That's Ajnana. And then Ajnanam is expressed. And now he says, yeah, there is no Brahman, I don't experience Brahman, etc., etc. We call it avaranam, concealment. It is of 2 steps. Two types. Sattva avaranam, bhana avaranam. Concealment of sattva. Sattva means existence. Concealment of the existence of Brahman. How he expresses? Well, there is nothing called Brahman. Or bhana avaranam. Concealment of experience of Brahman. I don't experience Brahman. Okay, there is Brahman, but I don't experience Brahman at all. That's also Avaran. Even though he is Brahman, right? But anyway, so Sattva Avaranam, Bhana Avaranam. Third step, Vikshepa. Well, once the nature is concealed, then you take yourself to be other than what you are. So you say, I am Jiva, I am individual, this, that. This is called Vikshepa. All the 3 steps are pertaining to bondage. Everything. Ajnanam also, well, the first step. And then Avaranam and this Vikshepa. All the 3 stages, well, belong to bondage. Then Paroksha Jnanam. Well, he comes across, he listens, and then Shastra through teacher. And he says now, well, Jagat Karanam Brahma Asti. There is Brahman which is the cause of the world. Through Avantar Vakya, Srushti Vakya. And that is Paroksha Jnana. Then Aparoksha Jnana. That Jagat Karanam Brahma Ahamasmi. That is me, is Aparoksha Jnana. So 5 stages are over. And then, well, definitely it leads to a Shoka Nivrutti. When you say I am Brahman, I am limitless. There is no, once you say I am limitless, I don't have any limitation. Well, I don't lack anything. This is the thing. if you have a clear understanding about yourself that I really don't lack anything, then there is nothing in the world which can create a sorrow. Nothing. This much is required. I don't lack anything. That's it. What, Swamiji? That's it. I lack everything. So that is a kid. That is a thing. I lack everything. In terms of relation, in terms of money, in terms of a knowledge, in terms of a memory. I'm always a wanting being. Puja Swamiji always calls it as a wanting being. That's all. So you should not fulfill the wants in order to make yourself free from the wanting being. That's impossible. That is the journey of a samsari. I'm a wanting being. Let me complete these wants, desires. Then I will be free from all the wants. I won't lack anything in the future. That day won't come. Even janmas and janmas go, it won't come. Only thing is, you should know you are free from the want. That's it. You are free from the want. That's it. Because you don't know yourself that you are free from the want. Anyway, so this aparoksha jnanam leads to shoka nivrutti, definitely. And tushti also, naturally. Satisfaction with oneself. Because then I know that if I don't lack anything, then I am satisfied with myself. Anyway, so this 7 stages of this Jiva or Chidabhasa has been described. And this is between verse 29 to verse 47. And then after that, Vidyaranya said of these 7 stages, 2 stages are mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra. That is 5th step, Paroksha Jnanam, and 6th step, Aparoksha Jnanam. 5th step, Aparoksha Jnanam, and 6th step, Shoka Nivrutti, have been mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra. So Vidyaranya wants to convey that I have promised you to, give exposition on this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra that I have not forgotten. Even though I have described 7 steps, but out of the 7 stages, these 2 steps is a description of that mantra only. Aparoksha Jnanam is the first line of the stage 5, Aparoksha Jnanam, has been discussed, has been mentioned in the first line of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra, 4.4.12, that is, Atmanam chet vijaniyat ayam asmi iti purusha. Very clear, ayam aham asmi. This is me. This is Aparoksha Jnanam. This self-evident Atma is me. And the 6th step, Shoka Nivrutti, has been described in the 2nd line of the Brahm mantra. And that is, Kimichan kasya kamaya shariram anusanjvaret, etc. That is also has been discussed. So, so this discussion of 7 stages, Vidyaranya says that it is not out of context discussion. It's a deliberate discussion to clarify the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra. And then from verse 48, Vidyaranya has entered into another technical discussion. Because we say Aparoksha Jnanam. So, he says this, let us understand this Aparokshatvam. Aparoksha Jnanam, in that Aparoksham or Aparokshatvam, let us discuss further now. So, he is now the stage 5. He is now elaborating. Aparoksha Jnanam, he wants to give a more clarity about this stage 5. And so in that, in Aparoksha Jnanam also, this Aparoksham or Aparokshatvam has been, now he is commenting upon. And he says the Aparoksham means a directness, intimacy, whatever we say. And Aparoksham word has been formed from, to understand it, let us understand Paroksham. Then na paroksham aparoksham. There is a nai tatpurusha samasa. So, paroksham. What is paroksham? Akshanaha param paroksham. Aksham means a sense organ. Akshi means an eye. But aksham in general, any sense organ. Akshanaha param, which is remote. Then, which is remote, which is beyond sense organ, is called paroksham. Akshana, param means beyond, remote. And that governs a fifth case. So akshanaha param. So which is beyond sense organs, which is indirect. Well, it's called paroksham. And then, well, na paroksham iti aparoksham, which is direct, which is self-evident, we can say. No, Swamiji, but then which is direct, then direct to the sense organ, that's pratyaksham. So we have to negate that. We have to start with pratyaksham. And so, aksham prati is called pratyaksham. Aksham means sense organ, I have already told you, which is aksham prati. All these objects in the world are basically, are perceived by a different sense organ. So, aksham prati is pratyaksham. That way, that is direct. But then paroksham means, well, akshanaha param, which is indirect, beyond that sense organ, which does not come in the range of the sense organs. And then still the third one, na paroksham. Pratyaksham has been negated. And paroksham also negated. Na paroksham. Well, that is aparoksham. Then that is self-evident. There is nothing else. Right? Pratyaksham is which comes in contact with the pramana, sense organs, which is within the range of the sense organs. And well, which is beyond the range of the sense organs. Both are over. And still aparoksham means which is immediate. It means what it indicates is you don't have to use any sense organ, or you don't have to use any pramana, any means of knowledge. Yet it is evident. That's self-evident. And therefore it is aparoksham. And this aparoksham, he says, this is of two types. We discussed this thing, but I am just reminding you. So the first aparokshatvam, well, he says swabhavika aparoksham. Swabhavika, which is naturally it is proximate, which is self-evident. Actually, it is direct. Let us say that way. So Brahman has to be proximate, because the word Brahman has to fulfill that promise of, Brahman means what? Brihatvat Brahman. If it is Brihatvat, means the bigness, well, it is the big. Anything which is the big or a limitless has to pervade me also. Right? If it doesn't pervade me, it is not big, the big. Therefore, anything which is limitless, which is all pervading, has to pervade me. If it pervades me, and there should not be anything else. If something else is there and it pervades, like a shawl pervades my body, then there are two things. And still I can't call the shawl pervades totally to my body. Definitely not. And therefore, what is all pervading means should not be anything other than that. That's it. That's it. Anything other than that, there is nothing. But anything other than that, if I want to accept, then we have to accept it is of a lower order of a reality. That's all. So any name and form also is pervaded by Brahman. Means name and form is like a body, and Brahman is like a shawl, pervade. Still, the Brahman cannot be called all pervading, okay? And therefore, what is all pervading, there should not be anything other than that. Ekam eva advitiyam, which is one without second. That's called all pervading. So to fulfill the definition of a Brahman, which is all pervading, it has to pervade me. It should be in the form of a me or I. If it is in the form of a I, it is self-evident. That's called aparoksham. So it's actually aparoksham. Swabhavika aparoksham. That is what has been told by Vidyaranya Swami as a Vishaya Swaprakashatvam. Swaprakashatvam, self-evident. Direct availability of Brahman in the form of a I. And that is one type of aparoksham. Second is, it is in the form of a I. So it is directly aparoksham, self-evident, swabhavik aparoksham, naturally it is self-evident, etc. By nature it is self-evident. That's fine. But I don't know. Well, now you know. Okay. Then jnata aparoksham. Right? Jnatam aparoksham, which is called aparoksha jnanam. That's all. So aparokshatvam is nature of a Brahman. But you don't know, and now you know, well, then it is jnatam aparoksham, recognized directness, recognized self. I mean, the self-evident nature of the Brahman has been recognized by you. That self-evident Brahman, which is Jagat Karanam, is none other than I. So this is another aparoksha, Jnatam aparoksha, which is, we call it as a aparoksha jnana. Anyway, but why should Vidyaranya talk about these two kinds of aparoksha? Because object may be directly available. Just I'm saying object. Sometimes object may be directly available, but the directness of the object is not recognized. Unless, once it is introduced, then you understand the directness of the object. And therefore, we will have to talk about two types of directness. Directness is there but not recognized. It is by nature it is there, it is in front, it is not but it is not recognized, and then it is recognized that it is direct. So we say there are two types of directness here. Anyway, and then I remember the example of a Puja Swamiji when he was flying from Delhi to Rishikesh, and in adjacent seat there was one Australian sitting. He was a very hefty person. So he was sitting on Puja Swamiji. He's like that. And then once during the flying, well, he started conversing with Swamiji. And he said, "Where are you going, Swami?" So Swamiji said, "I'm going to Rishikesh." So he said on his own. Then Swamiji also asked, are you, so you are going to Rishikesh, that's fine, but then, are you going for the first time? Yeah, I'm going for the first time. So are you going to meet somebody? Yeah, I'm going to meet one Swami. And then, but he said, I want your help. You belong to Rishikesh? Yeah. Swamiji said, yeah. Said, okay, I'm showing you some address. I want to meet that Swami, and this address I don't know about anything, how to go, etc. And then he brought out the address, and he said, there is one Swami Dayananda to whom I am going to meet. Then Swamiji said, the Swami you want to meet, right, in Rishikesh, is under your thigh. Okay, that's what he said. Literally said like that. He's under your thigh, because he was sitting in such a way. So when he was saying that I want to meet that Australian, want to meet Swami Dayananda was aparoksha. Right? Actually, the directness, natural directness is there of Swamiji, Puja Swamiji, but not recognized. So we'll have to say second type of a directness in which he recognized by Swamiji's words, that the Swami whom you want to meet in Rishikesh is under your thigh. So that is, directness is recognized. So two types of aparokshatvam has been discussed. Anyway, and same way, this Brahman also dvividam aparokshatvam. So when we say Brahman is Jagat Karanam, etc., even though there is a natural directness, etc., in that person says also, because once you study Upanishad, you will find such statements, Swaprakasham, etc. So Swaprakasham Brahma Jagat Karanam Asti, when he says, amazing it is, right? So Jagat Karanam Brahma Asti is a Paroksha Jnanam, or Swaprakasha Jagat Karanam Brahma Asti is a Paroksha Jnanam. So even though it is a directness, it is in the form of an I, but he doesn't know, right? And so when the Mahavakya is introduced, well, then he recognized that directness of the Brahman, which is self-evident. He says, Swaprakasham Brahma Jagatkaranam Asti, self-evident Brahman is the cause of the world. When he says, but still it doesn't click to him. If it is self-evident, then it is in the form of I, but it doesn't come. Anything which is self-evident is evident without depending upon any means of knowledge. That's called self-evident. And therefore it should be in the form of I. Well, the existence of I, the evidence of I, doesn't require any pramana. And therefore, well, definitely, paroksha jnana kale api, Vidyaranya says. Because if you see in the verse 49, he says, Dhiyapi evam, Vishaya Swaprakashatvad, Dhiyapi evam tad ikshanat. So Vishaya Saprakasha means this natural directness or the self-evidence of this Brahman, well, is there. And dhiya api tad ikshanat means he gains. Dhiya means by intellect, well, he gains. Ikshanam means here he recognized that Brahman which is self-evident is I. So this directness of the Brahman is there when he gains aparoksha jnanam. And now in verse 50 he says paroksha jnana kale api. So during a paroksha jnanam also, when he says Brahman asti, at that time also that Brahman is self-evident as aham only. So this natural directness of the Brahman is present in the paroksha jnanam. Natural directness of Brahman is there even in a aparoksha jnanam also. So that's what he wants to say. In verse 49 he says, in aparoksha jnanam there is a directness of the Brahman, self-evidence of Brahman, and now paroksha jnana kale api. Well, this Australian, when he says that I want to meet Swami Dayananda, etc., he is experiencing directly Swamiji. So paroksha jnana, in his mind, Swami Dayananda is a paroksha, sitting in a Rishikesh and he is going to meet, etc. So paroksha jnane kale api, Puja Swamiji was experiencing directly. So paroksha jnana kale api, this is very important because there are certain purvapakshas which he is going to discuss now. So paroksha jnana kale api vishaya saprakashata, verse 50. So Vishaya Saprakashata is present. Bhavati. Vishaya Saprakashata bhavati paroksha jnana kale api. Well, but what kind of a paroksha jnanam he has? Well, tatha brahma saprakasham asti iti evam vibodhanat. And well, therefore, he says vibodhanat means, well, he knows this Brahman as what? Saprakasham Brahma asti. Self-evident Brahman is there. And well, of course, an Avantar Vakya give you, Srishti Vakya give you this kind of a paroksha jnanam. Well, you may add some more also, that self-evident Brahman is Jagat Karanam, etc. So, but this Swaprakasham Brahma asti, paroksha jnanam is little, it's, when you say Swaprakasham Brahma, well, definitely, but he has not understood Swaprakasham, we have to understand that way. So, self-evident. Self-evident, you can replace that word by ever experienced. We have discussed that before a few classes. Ever experienced. Permanently experienced all the time. When you don't experience Jagat, you experience Brahman. When you experience Jagat, you experience Brahman. No experience is possible without Brahman. Be self-conscious. Without consciousness, forget about self-consciousness. Without consciousness, no experience takes place. And therefore, any experience takes place, well, before that, the Brahman has to be there. And therefore, you experience Brahman first. This way of saying. You experience Brahman first and then you experience anything. When you experience absence of everything, Jagat or any other thing, absence of a body, mind, sense complex, but still the experience of Brahman continues, and therefore Brahman is ever experience. You can say Saprakasham means ever experience, self-evident, etc. So he says Saprakasham Brahma asti iti evam vibodhanat. In this manner he gains this paroksha jnanam of Brahman. And Saprakasham means self-evident, or this swabhavika paroksham. And this has been discussed in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also in a 3rd chapter, 2 Brahmanas, Kahola Brahmanam and Ushasta Brahmanam, 4th and 5th Brahmana. We'll discuss this. Yes, Sakshat. This statement is there. Very, very, very popular statement. Yes, Sakshat aparokshat Brahma yatma sarvantara, etc. Well, Sakshat aparoksham Brahma yatma, and that is in the form of Atma, etc. And still, looking after this statement and looking after other statements of a Sushti Vakya, and he says Svaprakasham Brahma asti, and he wants to experience that Brahman by gaining Brahma Jnanam. So that is called Maya, I think. So he's practicing meditation to experience the directness of Brahman. He wants to experience Brahman directly now. Anyway, We have discussed this thing before also. So this is Vibodhanat. Vibodhanat means, well, this is a Heto Panchami, and it is to be connected to Sama Bhavati. So Sama means which is common. So common in what? Common in Paroksha Jnanam, common in Aparoksha Jnanam. What? Vishaya Svaprakashata. The actual directness of Brahman is there in both the pieces of knowledge. Paroksha Jnanam also it is there, and in Aparoksha Jnanam definitely it is there. Let's see now verse number 51. Aham brahmetyanullikhya brahmastityeva mullikhed parokshajnanametanna Bhrantam Badha Nirupanat. So Vidyaranya enters into a side, academic discussion little bit. See, we talk about a Paroksha Jnanam of a Brahman, even though it is a Paroksham, because it is not recognized. When it is recognized, it becomes a Paroksha Jnanam. So, what is a Paroksha Jnanam means what? Brahman is Paroksham. Brahman is Paroksham means Brahman, he has to experience Brahman. Jagat Karan Brahmasti, that Brahman is a Atma, etc. But he uses words of Prakasham, and yet he doesn't understand. He says, well, I will experience Brahman in future, in meditation, whatever. So in his mind, Brahman is Paroksham. Even though he himself is a Brahman, but yet not recognized. So actual directness is there, but not recognized. So, well, this Paroksha Jnanam is, Brahman is a Paroksham and he is a Paroksha Jnanam. So, such a Paroksha Jnanam can be considered as a knowledge, or it is a Brahma? Very beautiful question. But because knowledge should be always in a keeping with the nature of an object. If Vastu is a Paroksham and you have a knowledge of its Paroksh, indirectness, you understand it as a Paroksham, then we cannot call it as a knowledge. And therefore, this question has been raised here, that this Paroksha Jnanam, Brahmasti, Swaprakasham Brahmasti, Jagatkaranam Brahmasti, such a kind of a knowledge, which is Paroksha Jnanam, should be considered as a Jnanam or Brahma. That's the question. Vidyaranya establishes, very, very amazing. Because what happens is, Jnanam is Vastu Tantram. As the object is, so the knowledge should be. As the object is in your mind, if it is, you understand it little differently, we call it Brahma. That's how the Rajju Sarpa. Rajju is, it is a rope, and you understand it as a snake. How can we call it as a Jnanam? We call it Brahma, right? So same way, Vastu is Aparoksha, direct, and you understand it as indirect. And still you call it as a knowledge? How can you call it as a knowledge? It should be a Brahma. Vidyaranya, he is a genius. He said it is Jnanam. Still, Vastu is Aparoksham, yes Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma. And still you have Paroksha Jnanam, still it is knowledge only. So, some other Acharya, because this question comes because some other Acharyas claim this Paroksha Jnanam of Brahman is a Brahma. So, Vidyaranya refutes that idea, and let's assume a dialogue between them. One who raises a doubt and our Acharya answers. Vidyaranya asks question to that person, to the Acharya, other Acharya, who is doubting this Paroksha Jnanam as a Brahma. Well, why do you call it as a Brahma? Vidyaranya asks. Then he says there are 4 possible reasons by which we say Paroksha Jnanam, indirect knowledge of Brahman, is Brahma. 4 reasons between verse 51 to 55. So first, let's start. First reason of a Purvapakshi, doubter or Acharya, who says that Paroksha Jnanam is Brahma. First reason he gives, Aham Brahma iti anullikhya. So a person in a Paroksha Jnanam, well, does not refer Brahman as Aham. Brahman happens to be Aham. There is no Brahman other than Aham. In fact, that is the reality. There is no Brahman other than Aham. Right? And therefore, still he Well, this person who has a paroksha jnanam never refers Brahman as aham. That's how it is paroksha. If it refers to as a aham, then it is a paroksha. But anyway, so he never refers. He says all these things. Swaprakasham he says, and then Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, and Jagat Karanam, and what other word, all the words he uses. Shuddham, Buddham, all kinds of words you may use. But you never use a word aham with Brahman. Then definitely, whatever the knowledge of Brahman he has, is not paroksha jnana. We will call it as a Brahma only. Who says? Purvapakshi says. So, then, well, Acharya says, no, etat paroksha jnanam bhavati. So, no doubt this is jnanam. Na bhrantam. He says that is not a Brahma. Why? Bad anirupanat. See, just in one word he gave a reason. This paroksha jnanam is a jnanam but not a Brahma. For that, just one word. Bada anirupanat. See, erroneous knowledge is erroneous, well, because it is subject to falsification. Badam means subject to falsification, negation. Bada in our Vedanta is this which is subject to negation. What is subject to negation is false. That's it. Brahma. So, he said, well, Brahma asti iti jnanam. Brahma asti. There is a Brahman. If it is negated later, when he gives aparoksha jnanam, etc., then we should say that the first piece of knowledge called Brahman asti is a Brahma. Then let us take an example. Like when you say there is a snake, right? We call it, because he sees a rope on snake on a rope. So he says there is a snake. Now this jnanam has been falsified, negated by later piece of cognition. What? This is, or there is a rope. This is a snake and this is a rope. When you say this is a rope, that cognition definitely falsifies the earlier cognition, this is snake. And therefore, this is snake, that cognition or a piece of knowledge is not a knowledge, but it is Brahma. So he is asking a question, this Brahma asti iti jnanam, well, that knowledge is negated later or not. Suppose you ask a question to a jnani, right, who has gained a paroksha jnana. You ask a question, Brahma asti nasti va? Well, if Brahman is Brahman there or not, what will he say? Please tell me. What will he say? Oh, there is no Brahman. If there is no Brahman means he is negating himself, right? That is what it is. Asanneva sa bhavati asat brahmeti chedavet astimenam tato viduriti santamenam, etc. Well, definitely. So, asanneva sa bhavati. Upanishad says, one who says that there is no Paramatma, there is no Brahman, he is telling that he is not there, or he is asat. Not Brahman is asat, because Brahman happens to be in the form of a self. If you say there is no Brahman, means he himself is not there. It means you are negating yourself, and try to negate yourself. Try to negate. Try to negate. You can negate anything in the world. The negator can never be negated. It's impossible. You can negate everything in the world. You cannot negate. We negate everything in the world. Everything, whole world. We negate body, mind, senses, everything. We negate everything. Still you say, I was then in a deep sleep state. You can never, you may not recognize, because it requires a aham vritti. The mind resolves. And therefore, well, aham vritti also resolves. But you know for sure, when you get up and you say, I slept, etc. Well, so you were very much there. And therefore, Brahma astitva jnanam, if it is negated, paroksha jnanam, Brahma asti, if it is negated later, and if it is negated, what could be the next piece of knowledge? Brahma nasti. If there is Brahma nasti, that is a second piece of knowledge, then Brahma asti is called Brahma. Right? First, sarpaha asti. This is a snake. Sarpaha asti. And then what? Sarpaha nasti. then we say Sarpaha Asti is a Brahma. That thing will never occur. See, Bada Anirupanat. So, Nirupanam means establishing or establishment or proving. Anirupanam. You cannot establish, you cannot prove what? Badha. Negation. You cannot prove the negation. Negation of what? Negation of existence of Brahman. If you, what will be in this, what will be the form of that? Brahman asti. Well, if you gain a knowledge that Brahman asti, well, then the Paroksha Jnanam Brahma asti is a Brahma. But that you cannot say. So there he says, Bada Anirupana. Because of a not proving the negation of the existence of Brahman, well, this Paroksha Jnanam Brahma asti, we should not call it as a Brahma, but it is Jnanam only. Instead, he has that Brahman which is Jagat Karanam, that Paroksha Jnanam has now turned to a Paroksha. He says that Brahman which is Jagat Karanam is Aham Asmi. That's all it is. He would not say, no, there is no Brahman. He won't say that. Okay? So that is Prama only, not Brahma. It is Prama, not Brahma. That he explains further. This Bada Anirupanam, he explains further in verse 52. Brahmanasti iti manam chet syat badhyeta tada dhruvam na chaivam prabalam manam pashyamoto na badhyate. So, this is an explanation of, as I told you, Bhada Nirupanam. And so, suppose a person first knows Brahmasti, that's a Paroksha Jnanam. And after Mahavakya Vichara, well, now suppose he gains a knowledge that Brahmanasti, suppose. Then later knowledge will definitely negate the former knowledge, and then we call it as a Brahma. But in case of Brahman, Brahmanasti never comes. I already explained, so I'm just going through. So Brahmanasti never comes, and so Brahmasti is not available for negation, not available for falsification. What is available for falsification is a Brahma, error. What is not available for falsification is a Jnanam then. It's a piece of knowledge. And therefore, Brahmasti iti Jnanam, Paroksha Jnanam is not a Bhranti. So that's what he says. Brahmanasti iti manam. Madhatu means to measure. It is always used for the pramanas. Pramanam and manam, same thing. Because pra upasarga is there, therefore nakara becomes anakara. So manam and pramanam means a means of knowledge. Means here knowledge. We have to take it that way. Brahmanasti iti manam. Brahmanasti is a piece of knowledge, right? So we should not say it is a means of knowledge. Brahmanasti iti manam chet. Well, suppose. Chet means suppose. I mean, we quote this, that, O Purupakshi, if you say, Brahmanasti iti chet, iti manam, if such a piece of knowledge is there, well, tada dhruvam badhyet, tada paroksha jnanam, dhruvam, definitely. Well, in that case, if you come now, if you gain a knowledge that there is no Brahman, then tada paroksha jnanam brahma asti iti dhruvam badhyet, definitely it is negated, it is falsified. And therefore, we should call it as a Bhranti hi syat, he says. Well, that becomes a Bhranti. But but na chaivam prabalam manam pashyamaha. Na chaivam prabalam manam pashyamaha. Vayam pashyamaha. We never see such a prabalam manam in anybody's mind that there is no Brahman. Anybody's mind, the people who are in this circle. If you go outside and ask, tell that there is Brahman, etc., we will say there is no Brahman. But the people who are exposed to, we have already gained Paroksha Jnanam, right? So who are exposed to this Pramana and teacher, well, definitely, well, they and then, well, through, they get an exposure of a Mahavakya also, they would never say Brahmanasti. So, na chaivam prabalam manam vayam pashyama. And therefore, na badhyate. Paroksha Jnanam, Brahmasti, is not available for negation. Therefore, it is not Brahma. It is Jnana. This is how he says. Okay. Let's go to verse 53. व्यक्त्यनुलेखमात्रेण भ्रमत्वे स्वर्गधीरपि भ्रान्ति स्याद् व्यक्त्यनुल्लेखात् सामान्योल्लेखदर्शनात्. व्यक्त्यनुल्लेखमात्रेण. So there was a little bit difficulty in my pronunciation, but it is Vyaktyanollekhamatreena. Okay. So in this verse, now 53, Vidyaranya considers a second, possible argument by Purupakshi. He says, in a Paroksha Jnanam, so this is the beauty of this Panchadashi. The whole Panchadashi we have seen in this way only, right? Till the 7th chapter, you will always have found that certain doubts he raises and then resolves. So generally people consider these Prakarana Granthas, they say also Prakarana Granthas are meant for Mananam. That's true. Upanishad meant for Shravanam, and Prakarana Granthas resolve many doubts about the Jnanam which we have gained through Upanishads. Through Shravanam, well, certain doubts are there, will be resolved by Prakarana Grantha. And this really has that status, really resolves so many doubts. And now another doubt. Well, in a Paroksha Jnanam, person has got a Samanya Jnanam, right? Brahma asti, Jagat Karan, Brahma asti, etc., etc. So it's a general knowledge. He does not have a specific knowledge of a Brahman. Who is saying? Purupakshi is saying. Like, I give you first example. Suppose a person is working in some city and he is very busy, and his wife has gone for a delivery to to her parents' place, and now she got a baby boy, and so they call and give a message, news that well, you have got a baby boy, you are a father now, congratulations, etc. Now this father, who has gained a knowledge of a boy, baby boy, a son, that knowledge is a general knowledge or a particular knowledge? General knowledge, because he has not seen him, etc. And therefore, he has just gained knowledge that I have a son now. That's it. Mama putraha asti. I am comparing with our Brahma asti. Their Jagat Karan Brahma asti. This is different kind of. So, Mama putraha asti. I have a son. That's a general knowledge. Now, this Paroksha Jnanam, definitely it is Paroksha Jnanam and it is Samanya Jnanam. Clear? Samanya Jnanam of a son. He has not seen him, he has not taken in hand, and how does he look, etc. Now, of course, in today's society, well, they will send through some photos and everything immediately. Well, but I am talking about suppose such facility was not there, you simply gain some news. So, this is called Vyakti Anullekha Jnana. Ullekha means a Vishesha. And Anullekha means basically not Vishesha, general. So, Vyakti Anullekha Jnana. I have a son now, that he has a knowledge of the son, which is called Vyakti Anullekha Jnana. General knowledge of the son. Purupakshi says, Paroksha Jnanam is Brahma because it is general. If it is because it's general, therefore Paroksha Jnanam is Brahma. We are asking a question, if a general knowledge without a specific details, is a Brahma, then, well, the knowledge that father has, that he has a son, is a Brahma? The knowledge that he has about his son is a Brahma or a Jnanam? He cannot answer. So, we say, earlier he gave a different argument. Paroksha Jnanam is called Brahma only, where we negated. Paroksha Jnanam is not Brahma, but a Jnanam only. Now he says Paroksha Jnanam is a general knowledge about a given thing, and therefore it is Brahma. We say it is not. It is not. If it is Brahma, means suppose, well, he gained a news in the morning that he has a son, and now if somebody says that it is a general knowledge about your son, therefore it is Brahma, it is a ridiculous. Anyway, so in fact, let me tell you now, I have a general knowledge about the children of all of you, right? General knowledge. I don't know even the names also about your children. Then whether it is Brahma Means if it is a Brahma, means you don't have children. That kind of a thing it happens. This is a ridiculous. Anyway, so Brahma Asti, even though it is a general Jnanam, but it is Jnanam only, it is not, we can't call it as a Brahma. What he gives an example, you see this, Vyakti Anullekha Matrena Brahmatve, means Brahmatve Sati. If that is called Brahma, Svargadhihi api Bhrantihi Syat. Svargadhihi, Dihi knowledge, Svargadhihi. This is a best example. Svargadhihi, knowledge of Swarga, is called Brahma then, because you will have a general knowledge today about Swarga. What is the source? What is the means of knowledge? Veda. We all are Vedikas, right? And therefore you say, well, there is a Swarga. That's a Paroksha Jnana. In fact, whatever Shastra describes other than Atma, all the subject matter except Upanishad, whatever Veda describes, in fact, all Nitya Paroksha Vastu. Nitya Paroksha. Today Paroksha, tomorrow Paroksha. Devatas, Lokas, all this Apurva, Adrishta, etc., Punya Papa, etc. All Paroksha. You can never make them Pratyaksha. Never. So Paroksha Jnanam, general knowledge, you don't know how the Swarga is. What kind of a... We get certain description in Kathopanishad little bit, when Yamaraja offers to Nachiketa, he described little bit of Swarga. Maybe there are certain other things where description of Swarga may be there, but still it is a Paroksha Jnana. Unless you go there and see, then it becomes Pratyaksha and it becomes you gain a more knowledge, clarity, details, everything. Till then it is Paroksha Jnana. So he says if Paroksha Jnanam is a Brahma, then knowledge of the Swarga, Devatas, Karma, Apurva, everything which you gain from the Veda should be called Brahma or not. If you call Brahma, you are no more a Vaidika. That's it. You are no more a Vaidika. If you say I am a Vaidika, means you accept Veda as a Pramana. If Veda is a Pramana for you, then whatever the knowledge given by the Veda to you, even about a Nitya Paroksha Vastu, should be a knowledge for you, not a Brahma. Why I am saying this? So-called pseudo-Vedantins also, they go to the extent, in order to join the club of this, so-called intellectuals, they say Swarga also is here and Naraka also is here. Punya Papa also, there is nothing called Punya Papa, etc. They go to the extent of saying that they don't know what they are talking, the seriousness of the thing. I have heard the Vedantins talking like this. There is no Swarga, Naraka, etc. Everything is here. Swarga is also here in this world and Naraka also is here. This is a blow to them. If you call yourself as a Vedika, then Veda is a Pramana for you. And Pramana gives a knowledge which is valid. And therefore, even though it is a Nitya Paroksha Vastu, and you gain a Paroksha Jnana of that, you cannot call it as a Brahma. There is a Swarga. You may not be interested. There is a Punya Papa. You may not be interested. So what? But there is. Therefore, this is a best example. Swarga dihi api bhranti syat. Which even this person, the one who argues against this Vidyaranya, he is not ready to accept. Because if he says, yeah, it is Bhranti, he will be thrown out of the club of Vedikas. Definitely. This is then you turn to Buddhist. Buddhists don't accept anything. Well, because they don't accept Veda as a Pramana. That's how they are Nastika. Nasti iti vadati, saha Nastika. Vedaha pramanam nasti. Iti vadati, saha Nastika. Vedaha pramanam asti. Iti vadati, saha astika. And therefore, Vyakti anullekhat, because Swarga Jnanam is a general knowledge, well, Samanya ullekha darshanat, it refers in a generic term, and well, so this Paroksha Jnanam, Swarga Jnanam, etc., is not, well, considered as a Brahma, but it is Jnanam only. So, second possible reason given by the Purupakshi has been negated. First he said, Paroksha Jnanam is a Brahma because Vastu is a Aparoksha, etc. And then we said, no, that is not correct. And now he said Paroksha Jnanam is a Brahma because it is a general knowledge, etc. Well, we said, even though it is a general knowledge, well, still it is knowledge. It is not a Brahma, etc. So, well, and then other two reasons I have told you. Total four reasons are given by him between verse 51 to 55. So two we have discussed. So two more reasons will become. It will come in verse 54 and 55. That we'll see on Monday. On Friday, I'm sorry. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.